Shalom, shalom, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Pulse of Israel here in our eternal and ancestral homeland, the land of Israel, in our beautiful, biblical, eternal, and indivisible capital, Jerusalem, since King David's time. And I am sitting with a very, very good friend of Israel and a diplomat and someone I can call a personal friend, the Panamanian ambassador to Israel, Mr. Ezra Cohen. Shalom, Mr. Ambassador.
Shalom, and I'm very, very excited to be here listening to your introduction because I hear your podcast and I can't believe I'm here. So
Wow.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Wow, the honor, the kavod is all mine. We met last week at a Yom Ha'atzmaut, Israel Independence Day celebration together with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and I was pleasantly surprised to hear from the ambassador and his wife that they listen to our Pulse of Israel programs, and it is wonderful to be able to host you and know that the Jewish people and the Jewish state of Israel has such a wonderful friend in the Panamanian government, and you as the representative of that government doing that holy work for our two countries.
That is correct. In fact, when I was interviewed to be one of the candidates as the ambassador, I go to the president's office and he tells me, President Molino, he tells me, Ezra, I heard about what you did in your community, and I want you to strengthen our relationship between Panama and Israel, and I want you to expand the size of your office, and I want you to be there in 3 weeks.
Wow.
Now I go there for an interview, and he already gave me the assignment for, he wants me to be there in 3 weeks. Imagine when I called my wife what her reaction was. But that's how it started. And I've been a businessman all my life. And I love selling. And then I sold my company, and I said, I'm going to give some time to work for my community. And I became the executive director of the Jewish community in Panama. We did amazing things. But I thought it was going to be a job for 1-2 years.
Right.
I ended up 9 years being there. And then I go every day to work and I say, why am I here? But now that I got the assignment, I understand that everything was a move from Hashem. He was training me to become the ambassador of Panama and Israel.
Wow.
And that's how we're here.
Right, everything was a stepping stone that ended up causing that invitation by the president of Panama. Did you ever dream of becoming the Panamanian ambassador to the Jewish state of Israel?
Actually, I applied to become the ambassador 5 years ago, and it didn't happen. So I said, well, everything is for good. It seems I wasn't trained enough for the assignment, so I need another 5 years to be trained.
Right.
And so now I'm here. I'm going back to my original profession, which is selling. So I'm selling Panama. So Panama is not for sale, but I'm promoting Panama here in Israel.
So what is there to sell and develop between Panama and Israel?
I'll give you an example. I live in front of Mahne Yehuda. I go to shopping with my wife.
That's the open market in the center of Jerusalem.
And then I see a pineapple, this size, 30 shekels. In Panama, we have pineapples this size for 50 cents of a dollar.
50 cents of the dollar.
Imagine.
Which is less than 2 shekel. 30 shekel to 2 shekel.
And then I look for papaya because I used to have breakfast every day papaya. There's no papaya. Then I found one, 30 shekels. I cut it, has no taste. So I said, this is one of the things we need to work on, bringing papaya, pineapple to Israel. So that's one of the things.
So that's interesting. Let's go there for a second. What are the roadblocks that you have to go through in order to open up the import-export lines between Panama and Israel? Is that hard? Is it a challenge? It's going to take years, months?
It's hard. It's a year. I will not say years, but it will take months. They have registration, phytosanitary registration. You have so many steps to go through the Ministry of Health. They need to send people there to check. They don't want bugs to come from other countries here. So it's a process. But I see that in both governments there is a willingness to promote this and make it happen. So eventually we will have it.
Got it. So it's one of the projects that
one of the projects.
We're all going to be eating Panamanian pineapple and
cheap
papaya.
too.
Very cheap too, right? And I know. I just heard an interview with Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich talking the other day, because our cost of living is very high, and in Israel, and one of the reasons it's very high is because it's a very centralized economy, because the state of Israel was built by socialists, and a lot of the bureaucracy in governance is still, although that socialist mindset and regulations that not only makes business more challenging, but it's challenging to bring in the competition. And Minister Smotrich says, my goal is to open up competition and make Israel a free market. It's not about regulations. It's not about making government pricing for things, because that just allows price gouging. It doesn't help the consumer. It's opening up the market. And the key challenge to opening up the market is breaking the monopolies, which is not easy, because who are the people who own the monopolies? The richest people who own everything and have so much power and pull strings behind the scenes, unelected officials, elected officials, to stop anything that hurts their financial monopolies.
Well, if you take the business model of Panama, it's a open, free business society, and we have small tariffs for most of the products. We also have the Panama Free Zone, which is the second largest free zone in the world, where we trade merchandise, bring merchandise from the Far East. We redistribute it into Latin America. We don't pay taxes for import and export. And I had a meeting with Minister Smotrich, and he loved the idea. He wants to go to Panama to learn from the Panama Free Zone business model and bring it here. So eventually that will happen.
Amazing. So tell us a little bit about the Jewish community in Panama and the connection to Israel.
Okay, first of all, the history of Panama and Israel goes back to 47. Panama was one of the members of the United Nations countries that voted in favor of the creation of the State of Israel. Panama also is the responsible entity to have the first plane of the Israeli Air Force, because they brought the airplanes from Czechoslovakia to avoid the embargo to Panama. They created a Panamanian corporation.
Okay.
And those planes came flown by U.S. veterans from the First World War to bring them to Israel. So since the inception of the creation of the country of Israel, Panama has been there.
Wow. I want to give context for people to understand. The ambassador is referring to an embargo when even before the Jewish state of Israel was created, and we knew a war was about to happen. In order to defend ourselves, it was very hard for the Jews to bring weapons into Israel. No one would sell us weapons. So there were good Jews around the world, and Jews from then the British Mandate of Palestine, traveling around the world and buying parts and recruiting volunteer pilots and soldiers from the Jewish communities around the world. And the ambassador is referring to a U.S. pilots who volunteered to fly planes in Israel's War of Independence in 1948. But we didn't get the whole plane. Sometimes they were smuggling parts of planes and putting the parts together. And I didn't know that you're basically saying that Panama was a key stepping stone
100%.
For the putting together of the planes to then be able to get into Israel.
From the Israeli Air Force.
Wow.
I don't want to say made in Panama, but they were brought out of Panama.
Wow.
But we're talking about 48 and the Independence War, and I would like to share it with you.
But that is more support for the Jewish state of Israel than even the United States was giving Israel in 1947. We got no support from America at the time.
100%. So we're talking about the Independence War, and I have a very nice story to share with you.
Please.
First of all, my father was born in Colombia at the age of 6 years old. His mother passed away. So my grandfather said, I have 4 kids. I'm not going to raise them in Colombia. I want to bring them to Israel. So they made an aliyah, and they joined the army, the different types of armies there were. And my father fought in the Independence War in Iratica, the old city. And then he was captured by the Jordanians, a group of 35 soldiers.
When he was from the fight in Iratica?
Yes.
Yeah, the surviving soldiers were taken
in
prisoner.
Fact, I'm going to share with you a picture that you will put it in the podcast because it's a very, very famous picture of our family. You see the 35 soldiers captured
in the middle of the Iratica,
right,
an old city of Jerusalem.
It's a very famous picture.
Wow.
And then he was taken to Jordan for 9 months. During the 9 months, the United Nations came up with a deal where any country that wanted to harbor these soldiers, they can go directly, not through Israel. So my aunt in Panama sent a letter to my father. I want you to come to Panama. And my father says, thank you very much, but if you're not able to release all of my friends, I will not move. So my father had to stay there for 9 months.
They were going to let him out early,
yes,
but he said, no, I'm not going until we're all freed.
Right.
Wow.
And then they will feed them with canned food from the First World War I. Imagine.
That's 30 years old.
They will open and imagine what was inside. So for 9 months he was in that kind of environment. Then he was released for 100 Arabs. So situations have changed.
Right. Wait, he was for 100 or 35 were released for 100?
No. Each one was traded for 100.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Each Israeli soldier was traded for 100 Jordanian soldiers.
So now he goes back home. He tells his mom, you know what? I want to go for a while to a country where there is no winter and there is no war. So he ends up in Panama, where he has his aunt. Comes to Panama, start working. Then he wanted to get married, so he came to Israel, found my mother. They get married, get back to Panama, start working, raising a family. After 74 years, his son, arrives in Israel as the Panamanian ambassador during the winter, during the war, and during the exchange of hostages for Arabs.
They're terrorists. Wow.
Imagine.
Wow, that is quite a story.
But then it gets better.
Okay.
So we rented an apartment. I have no idea where is the apartment. We rented out from a friend of mine in Panama. So
in Jerusalem.
In Jerusalem. So we arrive at 2 o'clock in the morning. At 6 o'clock, I wake up to go to pray. Again, I have no clue where I am. I meet my neighbor, texts me, come with me, tells me, I'll take you. Takes me to a shtibel, and I pray. When I get out, it's already daytime, and the place is familiar. I call my mom in Panama. Ask her, what is the name of the synagogue Saba Ezra Cohen used to pray? She tells me, Yagel Yaakov. My neighbor tells me, it's here. Let's go inside. I go to the synagogue, and then I meet the Gabbai. And the Gabbai tells me, of course, your grandfather was sitting here in this corner.
No way.
Come, I'll show you something else. Takes me to a wall, the list of all the donors. My grandfather was the last one with the biggest amount. Then I understood I am in the right place at the right time.
Wow, that's fabulous.
But then, after a couple of months, one of my uncles from my mother's side passed away, and we're sitting in with the family in Shiva, and we start looking at the albums, and I see an album where my grandfather from my mother's side was on top of a bus. So I said, "What is this?" No, Sabbath Tzadok, he was the founder of the Mekasher, which became Eget,
That's the bus company.
the bus company.
No way.
And the bus has the number 3, which is Kaf Shalosh.
Right.
So I said, "And where is this?" Guess where? Where my building is, there was a gas station. Next to a gas station was a garage where my grandfather built up the Eget company.
No way.
So
That's where you live now.
yes, exactly.
Wow, bringing your past and your present together, and
Incredible.
and totally, by God's will, you had no clue about this.
So my office, my embassy is in Tel Aviv, but Jerusalem is my home. The previous ambassador was also in Jerusalem, so I commute, and but definitely we have strong roots in Jerusalem.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
And how? Let's go to diplomacy for a second, Mr. Ambassador. How do you think Israel is doing right now on the world stage?
Unfortunately, Israel is not good at marketing. We are not able to understand what's going on from the outside world until you come here and you see with your own eyes what's going on. They blame Israel of being a genocide, apartheid. I mean, I've seen when I drive signs, Israelis should not enter in this area.
Yep.
But this is Israel.
Right. It's forbidden for Jews to
But
travel
this is
in areas
Israel.
of Judea and
So,
Samaria.
it's a duality that, as an outsider, now I am encountering, and I see if Israel was able to explain a little bit more what's going on, perhaps the perception outside will be different. And the proof is when you bring people from abroad and you make them network and they see what's going on, they realize, well, the media drove a different kind of story, which we as an outsider learn, and perhaps we have to come here more often, or Israel have to send some good marketeers to explain really what's going on. That's how I see this scenario in the last 7 months that I'm in here.
Interesting. So I'm gonna agree and then push back a little, if that's okay with you, Mr. Ambassador. So I'm going to agree. The most important thing is bringing people here, because it's when people are here on the ground, they see with their own eyes. They go back to whatever country and they're like, "Oh my God, we can't trust anything we hear in the media," and they push forward in trying to get the truth out there, and they have it within them. In terms of how we market ourselves, I just recently did a program talking about the horrible massacre taking place in Syria. And just a few years ago, the leader of Syria had a $10 million bounty on his head for being a murderous terrorist who commits genocide.
And today he's in
And now
Macron's office.
Right, and now he's in Paris, given a welcome of a hero welcome, where representing not just France but the Western world and Western countries and even American politicians who are trying to legitimize him, even though he right now is massacring Christians, Alawites, Druze, Kurds in Syria.
Yeah.
So I'm pushing back, saying my thinking is no matter how well we market ourselves, there is something out there that people don't want to believe the good about us, and they don't want to believe the bad about our neighbors. And they're just going to do what they want to do, and the mass media putting out their stories, lying about us, and lying to the detriment of all the minorities being massacred by real horrible people committing genocide. How do you answer that? How do you push me back on that?
Well, I'll tell you what. Israelis claim this is a startup nation, right? In technology. How about being a startup nation in media? Start putting all the brains as to how to counteract and to promote the real truth and what was going on here. It will be my pushback to you.
You know what? I like hearing that pushback because that's what we do at the Pulse of Israel.
Exactly.
And we'd love to be the Jewish, let's say the Jewish Al Jazeera, the Jewish Dave Root. I mean whatever all these other media empires out there reaching the millions, just focused on Israel, so that we could be getting that truth out there to everyone on a daily basis. Everyone according to them.
So but you will call yourself a media startup.
We are definitely a media startup. Well, definitely a media startup, looking to be the media unicorn.
All right,
good. That's the dream.
Inshallah.
There you go. Inshallah. Ezra Cohen, media startups and media unicorns will be making that difference. But yes, it's understanding that it's touching, and it's touching individual people, and it's not being reliant on the existing media organizations out there, because there's an agenda out there that's bigger than all of us. They're not interested in getting the truth. It's on that point. I just saw a video this morning of some people on a college campus in America, and they were showing them actual footage from Hamas on October 7th. And they were telling them, this is what the Jews did to the Gazans. Okay? And they were like, yeah, it's horrible, and the Zionists and the Jews, they're horrible. And then they were saying, would you want to support or shake hands with the people who just committed those atrocities? No, I punch them in the face. They're horrible. Punch the Zionists, get the Zionists. And then the two people said to him, actually, this was Hamas footage, and that was the Gazans massacring and raping the Jews in all that footage. Does that change your perspective? And everyone was like, I support Palestine, and they walked away. They don't care.
This is startup media that we're looking for. We need to explain what is going on in a smart way, and I think Israelis know how to do that.
No. And tell us more about Panama and today Panama's relations with Israel and the support for Panamanian people regarding Israel or anti-Israel powers or groups in Panama.
Well, first of all, Panama loves Israel. We have bilateral agreements. We have a free trade agreement, and Panama today has a Jewish mayor.
Really?
City of Panama, yes.
Panama City is a Jewish mayor.
Yes.
Wow.
So of course, Panamanians, Jews are very much involved in the society, and it helps a lot. Different beneficiary organizations, and I believe that Panama is a very, very good friend of Israel. Now, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the Jewish community in Panama. Been there for 9 years as the executive director.
And that's the director of a whole Jewish community of all of Panama, or just Panama City?
No. In Panama, we have 14,000 Jews. 10,000 are from the Sephardic community, which is Shevet Ahim. Then 2,000 from the Ashkenazi community, Bethel. And then 2,000 from the Reform community, which is called Sharif, more or less. Those are the numbers. So I was the executive director for Shevet Ahim, the largest, and the one that runs the kashrut and all different institutions. So I saw in the last 9 years a total transformation from the Jewish community in Panama. And we were, at that time when I started, we had only 8 kosher restaurants. Today we have 50 kosher restaurants.
Wow, in 9 years you saw this growth.
And then we wanted to bring tourism to Panama. So I learned about what was going on in the Yeshiva Week, where everybody goes
winter vacation in America.
Mostly to Miami.
Right.
But I also heard complaints that the hotels were skyrocketed, that the food was very expensive, that it was overcrowded.
In Miami, in southern
Miami.
Florida, right?
So I said, hey, we have a market. So we start promoting a kosher fest from Panama in the United States. The first year we got 1,200 people. And it was funny. You will see all the streets in Panama invaded with Haredim and all type of Jews. And then next year we had 4,000 tourists coming. This year we had 8,000 coming. And the first year that we did this, we brought influencers from New York, and they tasted the food. They saw the prices. They said, the food is better than New York, half of the prices. And that's what we're promoting in Panama, the Jewish life. Do you know when was the first Jew that arrived to Panama?
No.
Guess.
I don't know. 1700s.
1501.
Wow, I wasn't that off.
Yes.
1501. And where did he come from?
From the expulsion of Spain.
Spain, 1492. Yes. Spanish expulsion.
And then we have a Jewish museum in the old city of Panama. And that Jewish museum teaches about the first Jew that arrived and the community that was built there. That community had the synagogue, and there are manuscripts that at certain time in the year there was an old person walking the streets screaming Selichot, Selichot. So from that point in time we saw a Jewish community, vibrant community that started off. The first fire squad from Panama was built by a Jew.
Really?
The flag of Panama was designed by a Jew. So Jews are very much involved into the creation of Panama as a country.
Wow, and that's accepted and known by people in Panama.
In fact, we had 2 Jewish presidents in Panama.
Wow.
And today we have a mayor, which is Jew. We have in charge of the promoting the tourism, which also is a Jew. So, Jews are involved in many things, matters to the government and the betterment of the Panamanian society.
Wow. And as we witness, unfortunately, the growth of Jew hatred across all the Western countries, North America, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, is there also a growth of Jew hatred in Panama or no?
Well, anti-Semitism in Panama exists, but it's not so open or obvious. There are 15,000 Arabs living in Panama, and we do business together. So I think that's probably one of the keys to the betterment of the relationship between Arabs and Jews. If we do business, we have no time to fight. So I think that the Abraham Accords are a plus to the peace in the region, and as more countries will join the Abraham Accords, I think we will see really more of a peace environment in this area.
Okay, that's very interesting to hear. And we just together celebrated Israel's what I call 77th birthday young, even though we're over 3,500 years old. What blessing do you have to give as the ambassador from Panama to the Jewish people, to the Jewish state of Israel, on where we should be going?
Well, I've been here for 7 months, and I celebrated 77 years. But I see in Israel that it's like a kid of 18 years old with the energy
Right.
of an 18-year-old. So I think Israel, even though it's surrounded with so many neighbors that wants to see Israel disappear, is stronger than ever. And I wish and bless that Israel will continue the path that it has chosen. And we will see a strong Israeli with strong allies in the region.
Amen. And it's what's mind-boggling is that year after year, even during this war, even as so many men are in IDF reserve duty, leaving their families, or mothers, children are fighting in this war on all the different fronts. Again, 2 children fought in Gaza, being sent back to Gaza, Lebanon, Syria. Unfortunate tragedies and soldiers being killed because it's a war and it happens. Every year, including this year, there is a survey of the happiest countries in the world.
Amazing.
And Israel is in the top 10 happiest countries in the world, even with this insane reality.
I told you that I live in front of Ana Yuda.
Yeah.
When I am a little bit overwhelmed, I go down and I see the happiness going on.
Yeah.
And I come up with such a good
Energy.
energy back. So yeah, definitely it's a very happy country. Israelis are very happy.
Yeah, and a word that you used yourself, the resilience of the Jewish people in Israel to overcome everything that is thrown at us. And again, it's our DNA. It's 2,000 plus years of the history of continuous exiles and persecutions, and we don't let it get us down. And my line is, we don't act as victims. We act as victors. We move forward. We get up. We do good. We help humanity. We help ourselves, and we don't take part in the victim Olympics that has taken over, unfortunately.
Well, as they say, Jews have only one country, so there's no other place to go.
That's right. We're home. Mr. Ambassador,
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Honor and pleasure being here and sharing with you our stories, and hopefully we'll have chapter 2.
Yes, definitely have chapter 2, and please God, I'm going to give you a little heads up. We're going to be having the 3rd annual Pulse of Israel conference in Jerusalem at the Begin Center on June 17th. It'll be live streamed for people to be able to watch all over the world. And please God, Ambassador Cohen from Panama will be one of our esteemed speakers there as well. So you'll be able to hear him again with whatever special message he's going to be sharing with us on June 17th. Be'ezrat Hashem, God's will. So looking forward to that, Ambassador.
Thank you very much. Pulse of Israel, the best. Thank you.
That's it for today's special Pulse of Israel program, when you get a daily, belief-based, inspiring, politically incorrect truth about Israel, the Jewish people, and the freedom-loving world. If you are not yet a subscriber, what are you waiting for? Go to pulseofisrael.com and click to subscribe today. And yes, we are a donor-based operation. We're heavily censored across all the social media platforms. It's thanks to your support, large donations or small donations, that we're able to do our work. And we have so much work to be done, so much truth to inspire people with, especially the Jews. And it's thanks to your donations. So every once in a while, just click on the donate button on pulseofisrael.com. Shalom, everyone, and thanks for watching.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.